What's going on, PBL fans? It's Jacob, the coach of the Ecruteak City Stantlers. Welcome back to Week 8. Now this week, we are going to be facing off against the Viridian City Volcaronas, led by Greg, also known as Cake Golem. So with that, we can go ahead and, actually, before we jump in here, I'm just going to take a moment to explain. This week was very difficult for me to team build for. His team has a lot of natural counters to mine. So I was kind of going into this one with I guess we could say a scared mindset. But we were definitely feeling the pressure, and let's see how we held out. Okay, so here we are. We're jumping right into the battle. As you can see, we're on our screen showing our opponent. And he is going to lead off with his Levani. And I was kind of expecting some kind of lead, probably Azelf, but instead it's Levani. But we do go ahead and lead off with our Absol just to be safe. Now here we are just trying to get our magic bounce off. I had no idea exactly what he was going to do, possibly go for a Bug Buzz or an X-Scissor, something that would take me out pretty easily. So instead, I just decided to go Mega and then go for Protect just to scout and see what's going to happen. So we do get our Protect off, and as we can see here, we do actually get the Sticky Web, which means that we get to bounce it right back on him. He said later on that he totally forgot that Absol had Magic Bounce anyway, but regardless, it is what it is. So here, I could not risk the X-Scissor or Bug Buzz, so I just figured, heck, we'll go into D-Drizzle. He resisted anyway, so whatever happens, happens. Here comes the X-Scissor, and as you can see, we take it's pretty good amount of damage, but again, we're especially defensive usually, so that is just how that went. Luckily, it wasn't too much damage for us to handle, though. We do just decide to go, I believe, for a Scald on the switch. Was it a Scald? Oh, no, I'm sorry. We got our Stealth Rocks up. Now, that was because we were trying to pressure the Kyurem as much as possible. Kyurem was a very big threat on his team for us this week. So in preparation for that, we really needed to have Stealth Rocks down. It was #1 priority, and luckily we did end up getting them down. Now here I was thinking about switching to Conkeldurr just in case he did go for Will-O-Wisp, but instead I decided to stay in, just because if he decided to Volt Switch out, he didn't really have a better answer than his Deluge, but unfortunately he did go for the Will-O-Wisp and he got the burn. Luckily our Scald does get the burn on to Rotom as well, so that was pretty good for us. And as you can see, he takes that burn chip damage. Now, he did not have leftovers, so that was revealed, so I didn't really think too much about what his item could have been. Could have been Chesto Resto, could have been Citrus Berry, I have no idea. Regardless, he does go for the Volt Switch, and as you can see, it does, because it was super effective, it actually did a pretty decent amount of damage for us. We weren't too pressured by it. We can take 2 more. But then in comes Malice, the Mawile. Now here I kind of wish that I did go for Scald, but instead I just hit Ice Beam because looking at the team that he brought, it hit the most people for at least neutral, if not super effective damage. So we just decided to go for the best covered move possible for whatever he decided to bring in, and unfortunately, it was the only thing that resisted the Ice Beam. So, you know, it happens, it's whatever. We got some damage down, and that's what counts. Now here I cannot leave Dr. Drizzle in no matter what the stakes, just because if a Thunder Fang comes through, we are going to be in huge trouble. So we do go ahead and we switch out and we bring in Purple Haze, who is our physical wall, of course, Weezing. And he can handle pretty much anything that Mawile has to throw at it. Even like Iron Head is not a 2-hit KO. I don't even know if this thing normally runs Iron Head. I totally forget, honestly. But regardless, it does go for a Play Rough, and as you can see here, it does a very, very good for us chunk of damage. We can take a lot of those before we end up dropping down. Now here the Will-O-Wisp is pretty obvious, and he decides to switch out because he doesn't want to deal with that, and instead he decides to bring in Roserade. I could have gone for Flamethrower, but instead that burn was too good of an opportunity to pass up in case he decided to stay in. So instead of making some crazy prediction, I just decided to get the burn off. Besides, putting even not a huge timer like Toxic, but putting any kind of timer on a Pokemon is always nice, because the pressure of saying, hey, you lose a % every turn it's a very good pressure to have. So I'm pretty happy with that decision, and we'll see how that plays out in the future. Now here, I was just kind of thinking, like, okay, it's probably a special attacker because of that base 125 special attack. Might as well bring in Popeye and see what we can do here. He does kind of pull a fast one over me, though, and he gets the Sleep Powder, and it does actually connect, and we can see that Conkeldurr is falling asleep. It does activate the Guts ability, but of course, since he's asleep, he can't really do anything. Obviously, I don't have Sleep Talk on him. That would be pretty crazy for me to just put that on him just to snipe that, but completely unnecessary. So then you start setting up Toxic Spikes, and here I kind of had like a couple options, right? My team doesn't really care about Toxic Spikes too badly, mainly because my main wall, both of my main walls are immune to Toxic Spikes either through Levitate/Typing. So there's that. So I just kind of decided, you know what, if he's going to set these up, we're going to go ahead and stay in, just keep clicking knock off while we're waiting for this sleep to burn out, because again, we don't really care about Toxic Spikes too bad. So, you know, there's that. We do end up waking up on the second turn, which is pretty lucky, but we do go ahead and get a knockoff through, and you can see it does a pretty, actually low amount of damage, all things considered. This is a bulky version of the Roserade, which is what I found out during the game. We see a Giga Drain come through. It does not do that much damage because we do have an Assault Vest on. It's one of the best sets for Conkeldurr. However, in this new generation, Flame Orb is also very, very strong. We get a Drain Punch off, and despite being resisted, did a pretty good amount of damage, especially considering the fact that it was a bulky Roserade. And you can see that the burn timer is absolutely helping out here. Now, I figured that he'd try to put me asleep again, so I did end up just going for Mach Punch, because I figured Mach Punch plus Burn would be enough to take it out. Unfortunately, that's not what happened, and we do see Leavanny come out, and after it takes all the hazards that are down, because there's currently 4 layers of hazards across the entire game. We do get our Mach Punch off, and it does an okay amount of damage. It definitely could have been better if it was, you know, like a Drain Punch or something. Regardless, he goes for Sticky Web. I did not want to bring in Absol while the Toxic Poison was still down. I would have liked to get that off first. So I just kind of had to decide to let it happen, because if we've got all those hazards anyway, then we're just going to have to switch out and bring in Empoleon at some point. Now here, Malice the Mawile comes out, and I kind of had a big decision to make here, because I could have switched back out into Weezing, but I really, really wanted to keep him as a check for Kyurem. So instead I decided to sack off Popeye. I let him get a nice hit in on Mawile at first, so that actually did a ton of damage. And that damage hopefully will come into play later. And you can see Mawile goes for this play rough and easily gets the one shot on Popeye. Super effective. My defense is not the best. It's naturally okay, but again, something like Mawile, it just does not hold up. But now we get Purple Hasten for free, and we're still avoiding the hazards, so that's nice. Now here I was faster, so I knew I could get something off. I decided to go for Flamethrower just because I didn't, Will-O-Wisp, because I did not want the Sucker Punch to come through. I would much rather get a burn down. He switches in his Kyurem, it takes the Stealth Rock's damage, and that for me was enough because I did have a Choice Scarf on Garchomp this week. Unfortunately, my Will-O-Wisp missed, which means that this game got about 50 times harder for me. So here I was pretty sure I was going to die. I thought I was just going to go for an Earth Power. Instead, he decides to go for Fusion Bolt. Maybe he thought I was going to switch out. I'm not too sure. Regardless, we only took a little bit of damage from that, and we do get a Pain Split off. I was figuring maybe we'd survive on a little bit of HP, then we could take him down to like half with Pain Split, but that's fine. We do end up getting some of our HP back, and he reveals that he's not Life Orb, which means he's a Z Crystal. He does go for Earth Power here, and it does a ton of damage, but Purple Haze holds on very, very, very tightly for dear life, and does get that absolutely crucial burn off on Kyurem Black. Now that burn was game-changing. Granted, the first one missed, so it was kind of hacks that we didn't get it the first time, but it was kind of hacks that we survived. So all things considered, it was kind of a wash. Here, I knew that Absol, despite having paper-thin defenses, could survive a Fusion Bolt from Kyurem Black if he was burned. So here we just kind of had to accept the fact that we were going to take these hazards and just catch this Fusion Bolt here. And as you can see, it does a pretty big amount of damage, but, you know, half my HP for being burned, it's not necessarily half, but it's pretty close. Just still while being burned, that's pretty crazy. Excuse me here. So, here I kind of had two purposes to this Protect. One, I wanted to be sure that he wasn't going to murk me out with a Z move, which is exactly what he tried to do. But two, I was trying to rack up the burn damage, that way I could hit him with a priority Sucker Punch to try to take him out, or at least leave him in range, to where the only casualty to Kyurem Black that I had to give up ended up being Absol. Unfortunately, you know, you'll see what happens here, but Sub-Zero Slammer comes through and does a pretty decent amount of damage to me. Again, burn through Protect, still dealt about half of what I had left, so that Protect definitely did help out. So now you can see that the Sucker Punch the burn is whittling it down. And with Sucker Punch plus the burn, it was like a 90% chance of killing. Unfortunately, we just did barely too little damage. I actually would be really interested in seeing from his side how much HP this thing survived on after this turn of burn. You know, sorry for the spoiler on that one, but as you can see here, the burn just barely doesn't get him. It's like 1 pixel worth. So we do have to bring in Dr. Drizzle here. Now, I figured, we're at a spot where the biggest threat is about to go down. I know we can take one Fusion Bolt while he's burned, so we do bring him in to do that. And instead of getting that KO, since we already know that the KO is coming, the Stealth Rocks have already played their purpose of weakening down the Kyurem Black. So I figured I'd rather get a whole field reset now that Livani's gone and Roserade is super weakened. So we do just get all of these layers of all of these bad things out of the way. And that was absolutely crucial because now that means that I can bring in Tapu Lele without getting poisoned. I can bring in Garchomp without getting poisoned. Also, they don't have their speed drop anymore, which was absolutely crucial. And that was a huge turning point in the match for us. And even though it cost us our Absol, and Weezing played a huge part in it, even though he didn't faint, and Empoleon too, all of it played a huge role into it. Now here I just decided to sacrifice Dr. Drizzle. I saw a really good opportunity with the Pokemon that were remaining for a Tapu Lele possible sweep. So I decided just to give up, I just decided to give him up instead, because trying to juggle all that damage would have led to somebody else probably dying and possibly more. So I just wanted to play it safe. Sorry, I'm going on like 15 tangents here. But so we do get our Psychic Terrain up, which means no Sucker Punch for you. Out comes Knave. I guess he was expecting me to go for like a Psychic attack, but I was carrying Hidden Power Fire, so that does a pretty good amount of damage. Now, I think he thought he was going to scare me out with this thing, but thanks to preparation, I knew that there was nothing that Crocodile could do outside of a crit to actually kill me unless he was Choice Banded, in which case I outsped in one shot with Moonblast. But there you go, we do end up taking him out, so that is always good for us. And at this point, it looks very, very much like a sweep, and we're just going to try our best to, pull it through. So, out comes Lamatador, or iMatador, I'm not sure. Regardless, it does faint to a Psychic because it is at very low HP. Would it have survived from full? I'm honestly not certain. I didn't really check. My guess would be probably. Out comes Deluge, and this right here, we do go for another Psychic. And this kind of showed me that it wasn't just a physical defense set. It had some special investment as well. Because with a physical investment, it was like a 90%. It was like a 60% chance to one-hit KO, so 100% from where he was at. Now we do get to see that Hydro Pump miss. Now that Hydro Pump missing did not really matter. Maximum, it was going to deal 40% of my HP. So we do end up getting the second Psychic through, and we do take him out. However, that does stall out the Psychic Terrain, which is pretty bad for me. Out comes Mawile. Now, he could have gone for Sucker Punch just to try to take this thing out. I wanted to play it totally safe, so I did decide to switch out. I brought in Purple Haze. This was a pretty much known sacrifice. I just wanted to play it safe in case he was like, you know what, forget it, I'm going to go for one more kill before we lose here. But instead, I read it wrong. He gave up, but unfortunately, we ended up just giving him Purple Haze for free. I figured this would be a good chance just to get Garchomp some screen time, so another ending with Garchomp on. But we do get to go for the Earthquake here, and as you can see, this is easily going to take Mawile out from the HP that it's at, because it was about a 90% damage in the first place. So, Mawile down, and that is going to be the game. So we do end up taking this one in the closest battle that we've had so far this season. However, that being said, a lot of the losses of Pokemon in our battle were definitely calculated ones. Going in, I knew that Absol was probably going to die, and I knew that it was pretty much going to die to Kyurem Black. That was pretty much a calculated move. I just figured we could scout it out, figure out what type of set it's running, and it would be his job to stop it. Excuse me. I knew that the Empoleon one, that one was absolutely necessary. Same thing with Conkeldurr. They were both 100% necessary. Just to make sure that we could get good switches, to make sure that we could juggle the damage properly. My apologies, folks. It's been a long commentary so far. Yes, so we just needed to make sure that we could juggle the damage properly, and those sacrifices were definitely necessary. The one at the end, the Weezing one, it wasn't 100% necessary, but it was the safest play for me, because if I would have gone for, Psychic or Hidden Power Fire again to kill the Mawile, and I went for Sucker Punch, well, there goes my Tapu Lele, and I'd personally rather have Weezing's stats marked with a feint than I would a sweeper like Tapu Lele. So anyway, that was the battle. Thank you so much for chilling out with me and just checking it out. I know that some of the people that watch me stream do watch some of these videos, so just know that right now my internet is in a pretty bad spot. I'm actually getting ready to message everybody over Twitch right now. But just know that my internet's in a really bad spot, so that is why we are currently not streaming. It totally crapped out on me the other day. But I am working with the internet provider and the people that I live with, and we are trying to get the internet into a better state where we can have better upload. But unfortunately, it's going to take like a week or two to get there. So all I can ask is that you guys bear with me, and I will keep you updated in via Twitch, or I really do need to set up a Discord. Regardless, that's rambling about something that some of you don't necessarily know about. But regardless, thank you so much for stopping by, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next week against Caitlin, the Tin Tower Tyrannotars.